Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. As dawn broke over the quiet town of Elderspring, the soft glow of the morning sun illuminated the chipped paint of a modest two-story home. Inside, the sound of bubbling coffee mingled with snippets of conversation as the Walker family prepared for another ordinary day. In the kitchen, Mary Walker stood at the counter, her eyes scanning the newspaper spread before her. Headlines hailed another uneventful week. Life in Elderspring ebbed like the slow-moving creek behind their house. But beneath the surface of this idyllic town lay the undercurrents of hidden struggle. Mary turned the page, her brow furrowing slightly as she read about a series of disturbances happening just a few blocks away. It seemed that the sleepy charm of their community was being tested as reports of missing pets and graffiti-tagged walls increased. Elderspring was losing its innocence. As Mary poured a second cup of coffee, her son Jake shuffled in, sleep still heavy in his eyes. "What's for breakfast?" he mumbled. "Just the usual, honey," Mary replied, ruffling his hair absent-mindedly. She couldn't shake off a feeling of apprehension and instinctive awareness that something was amiss. Later that afternoon, the town would hold its weekly farmers' market, a cherished ritual where neighbors mingled and gossip thrived. But that day, an unexpected presence would shatter the tranquil veneer of Elderspring, as a young girl's voice called out for help from the shadows. By nightfall, the once mundane town would grip the first threads of a chilling mystery, setting in motion a chain of events that would change lives forever. The victim. The sun began its descent, washing the town of Elderspring in hues of orange and pink, a deceptive beauty that masked the emerging darkness. In a small, cluttered bedroom adorned with posters of pop stars and glimmering fairy lights, 16-year-old Mia Thompson was hunched over her sketchbook. Each stroke of her pencil breathed life into her dreams, capturing the essence of a world she wished. Mia was the kind of girl who found solace in art, rarely making waves in her high school life, but to her friends, she was a wellspring of creativity, a talented artist whose imagination painted both vivid and enchanting landscape. Yet behind closed doors, Mia grappled with the pressures of adolescence, feeling the weight of expectations both from her peers and herself. She welcomed the summer break, looking forward to camping trips and late-night bonfires. As she sketched, her thoughts drifted to the upcoming farmers' market. Mia had plans to showcase her drawings. Perhaps the townsfolk would appreciate her art and encourage her budding talent. But that evening, restlessness twisted like a knot in her stomach. A fleeting reminder of whispers in the hallways, speculating about who Mia was, and a deeper worry crept into her thoughts. Had her artwork made her a target for jealousy? That question lingered like a shadow in the back of her mind. As twilight faded, Mia stepped out of her home to breathe in the cool night air. Walked toward the park, unaware that someone else lurked in the shadows, watching her every move. Moments later, the serene ambience of Elderspring would fracture, the quiet night echoing the strained cries of a girl whose vibrant life was about to be snuffed out. The crime scene. The air was thick with a haunting silence as the local police were summoned to the park at the heart of Elderspring. It was an unremarkable place where children played during the day, and couples strolled hand in hand under the glow of street lamps at night. But on this night, it was transformed into a scene of horror. Officer David Rodriguez, a seasoned member of the force, arrived first. The rising moon cast an eerie light on the ground where, Mere minutes ago, Mia Thompson had been full of life. Rodriguez's heart sank as he caught sight of the evidence that would shake Elderspring to its core. Mia lay motionless on the cold grass, surrounded by a cluster of anxious onlookers, their expressions shifting from confusion to sorrow. The moment he approached the scene, Rodriguez could see the horror etched on the faces of those who had gathered. The familiar sights of the park took on a sinister edge under the powerful glare of police flashlights. Mia's vibrant closa floral blouse and denim shorts stood in stark contrast to the dark stains that marred the grass beneath her. The initial assessment revealed no signs of struggle nearby, as if she had been caught off guard, perhaps lured into a false sense of safety before tragedy struck. As medical personnel worked to preserve the scene, Rodriguez's mind raced with the questions that would follow him long after the night ended. Who had done this? Was it someone from their own neighborhood? The troubled town that had felt so safe now trembled in fear, the horror rendering its warm facade cold and uninviting. In a grim twist of fate, the very heartbeat of Elderspring echoed the chilling reality that had begun to unfold. A town shrouded in metaphorical light was now plunged into darkness, the innocence of a young girl erased forever. The investigation would unravel connections hidden beneath the surface, brave enough to confront the silent truth that lingered in the shadows. The early investigation. The early morning hours wore on, casting an unsettling light over Elderspring as the news of Mia Thompson's death spread like wildfire. By dawn, the once tranquil town was awash in an atmosphere of confusion and fear. Detective Helen Marsh, known for her methodical approach and unwavering determination, arrived at the park as the sun broke through the clouds. She quickly assessed the scene, taking note of the stippled markings where chalk outlines would soon signify a life extinguished too soon. With an air of authority befitting her role, she began piecing together the fragments of Mia's last moments. First, she scrutinized the surrounding area, her instincts honing in on potential evidence. The faint scuff marks on the nearby path, a broken pendant partially buried beneath some grass, and the overturned trash can that had been rummaged through. There's always something that leads to the truth, she murmured to herself, as the rhythm of her notepad filled with observations and initial hypotheses. Detective Marsh organized the collection of witness statements, asking officers to canvass the neighborhood, hoping someone had seen or heard something out of the ordinary. A few townsfolk mentioned seeing Mia earlier at the market, but none could recollect her leaving. Their dismissive denials felt like thorns dug deep into her judgment. The area seemed eerily still the night before, too quiet for a tragedy of this magnitude. Meanwhile, Officer Rodriguez interviewed Mia's friends, hoping their insights would unlock the secrets of her inner life. The whispers and scattered pieces of their conversations formed a picture of a girl, loved and admired, yet isolated by insecurities that only a few recognized. One friend recalled a frightening encounter Mia had shared about a stranger who had been watching her. That chilling information breathed life into Marsh's silent worries and signaled a potential lead. With every bit of information they gathered, the puzzle began to take shape, but also revealed how far-reaching and twisted the truth might actually be. Time was running out. As her heart raced, Detective Marsh felt the weight of the town's unspoken fears press down upon her, the reality that someone among them harbored a darkness capable of snuffing out the light of an innocent life. The dead ends. Days slipped by, and the warmth of early summer turned into an oppressive heat, suffocating the town of Elderspring under a veil of dread. Detectives Marsh and Rodriguez found themselves trapped in a labyrinth of leads that felt more like mirages than breakthroughs. Witness statements turned out to be speculative murmurs rather than solid evidence. One person recalled seeing a figure lurking in the shadows of the park. Another claimed to have noticed a car parked nearby that seemed out of place. Yet, when Rodriguez followed up, each lead dissolved like mist. The figure was never clearly identified, and the car had too many variations to track accurately. The whispers began to fade, leaving the detectives feeling like they were grasping at straws in the suffocating darkness of uncertainty. Marsh and Rodriguez spent uncounted hours reviewing security footage from local shops, combing through countless hours in hopes of capturing any sighting of Mia or potential suspects. But the cameras offered nothing but empty streets and the occasional passing dog walker. The absence of digital traces compounded their frustration. How could a young girl vanish into thin air during a time when everything felt connected by cameras and convenience? Feeling a sense of urgency growing heavier, Detective Marsh pushed for a broader examination of the area. She reached out to local schools, hoping to unveil any disturbing behavioral patterns among students. In spite of their efforts, the inquiries yielded more dead ends. Some classmates spoke of Mia fondly, others remaining indifferent, catching glimpses of a girl who seemed to float just outside the scope of their lives. Tension rippled through the community, igniting a firestorm of fear and suspicion. Neighbors eyed one another warily as the police continued their investigations. Rumors emerged about suspects: a local handyman with a dubious reputation, an unfamiliar newcomer who had moved in just weeks before. The town's friendships began to fray, unraveling into mistrust, feeding the shadows that already seemed to thicken. As Detective Marsh closed the file for the night, the weight of despair settled upon her. The silence had become an echo, reflecting their frustration back at them. Their battle for answers felt monumental, and the truth remained stubbornly elusive, lurking just out of reach. In the midst of the stifling heat, they desperately hoped a tiny fragment would illuminate the dark path they had been forced to traverse. A break in the case. While the oppressive heat of summer still clung to Elderspring, it was a fading flash from the past that finally ignited hope within the dark narrative of Mia Thompson's murder. A week had elapsed since her tragic death, and Detective Helen Marsh felt the weight of desperation settling upon her shoulders like a heavy cloak. Each passing day without leads was a stark reminder of the heartbreaking absence that had gripped the community. Then came the call. Officer Rodriguez stood at his desk, poring over Mia's social media accounts, when he stumbled across something significant. A disturbing message sent just days before her death suggested interactions that could have easily been misinterpreted or even dismissed. Between the lines of casual banter, hints of vulnerability peeked through, revealing hints of underlying fear that nagged at his intuition. "Detective," Rodriguez called out, his voice slicing through the office dreariness. "You need to see this." Marsh rushed in as he showed her the exchanges with a user who lurked behind an anonymous profile. The pattern began to emerge, like ink bleeding through the pages of a book. After struggling with the idea of confronting her tormentor, Mia had ultimately chosen to ignore the messages. Rodriguez's gut twisted at the chilling realization. The anonymity of the user screamed danger. Marsh engaged a tech specialist who worked diligently to trace the IP address to an apartment in Elderspring. As the details were revealed, a knot of tension twisted tighter and Marsh's chest name emerged. a fleeting acquaintance of Mia's from school, someone who blended in seamlessly with the crowd. Jordan Easton. Innocuous on the surface, Jordan was described as charming and easygoing, fitting seamlessly into the fabric of the community. But beneath that facade lay fissures that, once exposed, transformed his charm into something sinister. He had been known for a few unreciprocated advances towards girls, and as the detectives pieced together data from several sources, these behaviors painted a troubling image of obsession. With the mounting evidence, a sense of urgency rippled through the precinct. Marsh and Rodriguez agreed to approach Jordan with caution. As they donned their vests and prepared to confront him, a mix of anticipation and dread gripped them. Answers were within their grasp, and finally, the tangled web of secrets surrounding Mia Thompson's death began to unravel. In the quiet that lingered before action, they braced for whatever awaited them in the echoes of darkness. The suspect. A dim light in the small interrogation room cast shadows across the walls, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. Detective Helen Marsh and Officer Rodriguez entered. Determination etched on their faces. Their hearts raced as they prepared to confront Jordan Easton, the suspect whose name now hung heavily in the air like a storm waiting to break. Jordan sat at the table, his casual demeanor seemingly a mask for the unease that simmered beneath the surface. Flashes of charm radiated from him, but there was an edge to his smile, an awareness that suggested he knew more than he let on. As the detectives took their seats, the silence that settled felt oppressive, every second counting down like the ticking of a clock in a suspenseful film. Jordan, we need to talk about Mia Thompson. Marsh began, her tone firm yet measured. From the moment the words left her lips, she observed a shift in his expression, carefully scrutinizing the subtle shifts in his posture as he leaned back. Feigning nonchalance. Yeah, what about her? I didn't know her all that well, he replied, the confidence in his voice faltering for the briefest moment. Rodriguez leaned in, his voice lowering. We have messages between you and Mia. Your behavior leading up to her death raises questions. The room thickened with tension, and the flicker of Jordan's bravado began to wane, revealing traces of discomfort. I don't know what you're talking about. I just messaged her like everybody else, he stammered, avoiding eye contact. Eyes darting around the room. You crossed bound. You pursued her when she wasn't interested. Did you have a reason to meet her that night? Jordan's mouth opened slightly, revealing a flicker of panic that crackled beneath the surface. I never met her. I swear I didn't know she was. He halted abruptly, the implication hanging in the air, his confidence unraveling. With each question, Marsh felt the dissonance surround him. Something was off, a link waiting to be forged between his calculated responses and the truths desperately sought. The contradictions revealed a tangled web of emotion, jealousy, upset. But as Marsh's instinct pushed her forward, the door to the room creaked open. An officer interrupted. Breathless. Detective, we've got another lead. Surveillance footage just in from the night of the murder. Marsh's eyes narrowed, a pang of muted urgency echoing within her. As she turned back to Jordan, she realized that the game was shifting. Jace had only just begun. Unraveling his connection to Mia's murder might reveal dark facets no one had anticipated, further complicating the haunting mystery that had plunged Elderspring into despair. The trial. The courtroom in Elderspring was filled to capacity, a stark reflection of the town's collective grief and unease. Family, friends, and curious onlookers crowded in, their eyes fixed on the stage where the trial of Jordan Easton was about to commence. The air crackled with tension as everyone awaited justice for Mia Thompson, a girl whose life had been extinguished too soon. Detective Helen Marsh sat in the front row, her heart heavy with the weight of the testimony she had gathered in the months following Mia's murder. The case had unfolded with excruciating detail, painting a vivid portrait of the moments leading up to that fateful night. As Marsh prepared for the trial, the pain of Mia's absence loomed over her, a reminder of every effort made to seek justice. The opening statement set the tone for the proceedings. The prosecution painted Jordan as an obsessive figure of someone whose insistent advances had been rejected, leading to a tragic culmination of violence. They detailed the evidence: electronic messages, witness statements, and even a chilling confession that had surfaced during the investigation. Jordan's defense team countered swiftly, attempting to dissect the prosecution's narrative. They argued that there was no concrete evidence connecting him to the murder, asserting that the messages were misinterpreted teenage angst rather than threat. As they presented their case, Jordan sat, feigning attentiveness. Yet the facade of confidence had long since withered away. One poignant moment came when Mia's parents were called to the stand. Their raw emotions cascaded through the courtroom as they recounted the vibrant life their daughter had led. Mia was full of dreams. Her mother's voice broke as tears streamed down her cheeks. She never had the chance to fulfill them. The defense attempted to undermine these sentiments, claiming that not every troubled teenager ended up in violence. Yet it was difficult for anyone present to ignore the palpable grief that draped over the Thompsons. As the jury listened, they were unrelenting in their focus, their own feelings mirrored in their expressions. As the trial unfolded, Detective Marsh watched every reaction, hoping the jury would pierce through Jordan's facade. She remembered the moment they arrested him, a young man, lost in a web of choices, caught between desires and consequences. After days of testimony and the gripping tension of closing arguments, the jury retreated to deliberate. The wait felt agonizing, as if time itself had frozen. In those moments, the room was filled with a collective sense of hope mingled with despair. Quite aware of the weight resting on those 12 strangers who would decide Jordan's fate. When the jury returned, a hush enveloped the courtroom. The foreperson's voice rang out clear and unwavering. "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder." A sharp intake of breath filled the air, echoing the relief and sorrow that swept through Mia's family. As tears fell, Detective Marsh remained staunch, feeling a quiet sense of justice tempered by the knowledge that no verdict could ever fully restore what had been lost. Justice had been served, but the ghosts of that ill-fated summer would linger in Elderspring, a solemn reminder of the fragility of life and the depths of darkness that could infect even the most unsuspecting of places. The aftermath. In the weeks following the trial, the town of Elderspring found itself navigating a new landscape of grief and healing. With Jordan Easton sentenced to 20 years in prison, a collective sigh of relief echoed throughout the community. But it was bittersweet justice achieved, yet shadows remained. Detective Helen Marsh revisited the park where Mia Thompson had lost her life, its familiar beauty now carrying an undercurrent of sorrow. Bright yellow caution tape had been replaced by soft flowers planted by mourning townsfolk, staring up at the clear blue sky. Each petal stood as a tribute to the girl who had been so full of potential. Community members would visit daily, lighting candles and leaving notes at the base of a newly erected bench that bore Mia's name. A symbol of love and remembrance. Mia's parents had emerged from the trial exhausted yet resolute, rallying the community to honor their daughter's legacy through art programs and scholarship funds dedicated to young artists. They held gatherings at the local community center, inviting residents to contribute their own art and poetry, allowing Mia's spirit to inspire creations that brought people together despite their shared pain. As for Detective Marsh, she plunged into her work, trying to carve out meaning from the chaos that had enveloped their lives. She met with school officials, discussing increased safety protocols and awareness programs aimed at preventing similar tragedies. The echoes of Mia's laughter haunted her dreams. She could almost hear her vibrant voice in the hallways where she had once walked. But the scars of the ordeal ran deep. Rumors circulated about possible accomplices or lingering threats, keeping uncertainty alive in the hearts of townsfolk. The fear of the unknown festered beneath the surface, prompting some families to move away, seeking refuge from the darkness that had crept into their neighborhood. An undercurrent of mistrust lingered, coloring relationships once painted in the hues of friendship and community. Months passed, yet pain lingered like an unwelcome guest, reminding everyone of its presence. Elderspring was irrevocably changed, and the fight to reclaim its lost innocence felt like an uphill battle. However, in the midst of heartache, glimmers of hope began to emerge. Open conversations bore fruit. Young people spoke about their struggles more freely, fostering understanding and empathy. Yet, as much progress as they made, Detective Marsh still felt the weight of her unresolved conflicts. Jordan's face often haunted her in quiet moments, the intricate layers of a troubled young man still riddled with unaddressed issues. Was there more she could have done to prevent this tragedy? The questions lingered like shadows when solitude enveloped her at night. In the heart of Elderspring, the intricate tapestry of humanity remained woven with complexity, where hope thrived amidst shadows. With each passing day, the community forged bonds that grew stronger. Despite their grief, a testament to resilience, life moved forward, but the impacts of loss were imprinted in their shared history, reminding them to cherish the light with an even deeper reverence. And as long as they remembered Mia, that radiant spirit would never truly fade away. Reflection. As the seasons shifted and the colorful leaves surrendered to winter's crisp embrace, life in Elderspring began to find a semblance of normalcy. Yet the shadows of the past clung persistently. Detective Helen Marsh often visited the park, a place where laughter and innocence had been stolen, now transformed into a space for reflection and homage. The beautiful bench dedicated to Mia stood resolutely, surrounded by tokens of love left by an appreciative community grappling with loss. One particular afternoon, with sunlight filtering through the bare branches, Marsh settled onto the bench, tapping her fingers against the worn wood. She recalled the intricate details of the investigation, how a tapestry of emotions weaved itself into the fabric of Elderspring and ache that surged beneath every interaction. With Mia's spirit still alive in echoes of creativity and shared stories, she could see how the town slowly began to stitch itself back together, each thread mending a piece of the community while honoring their loss. Marsh found solace in the stories shared at the art programs Mia's parents organized. Young artists painted murals filled with color, each brushstroke captivating the spirit of hope. In those moments, she understood that healing wasn't linear. It ebbed and flowed with the rhythm of life, reminding everyone that love can endure even amidst heartache. The conversations born from tragedy built bridges between families, friendships, and strangers alike, urging them to foster discussions on mental health, relationships, and the significance of understanding one another. While the ache of Mia's absence never truly disappeared, it transformed into a driving force for making change. Marsh felt the necessity to open dialogues about young people's struggles, ensuring their voices were heard before missteps became tragedies. Each time she visited that park, reflecting on what had once been a dark chapter, she allowed herself to hope that this small town could emerge united through the pain, stronger and wiser, with a renewed commitment to nurturing the lives surrounding it. Just as her thoughts cleared and the horizon brightened, she felt an unmistakable warmth, a connection forged through resilience and compassion, reminding her that there is light even in the darkest of times.